This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
So yeah, we are here today. We're finishing up The Gathering Storm. We've reached Veins of Gold, the epiphany upon the mountaintop, the allegory at the end of the series, or perhaps the beginning of it. I would say the moment which I've argued is the actual triumph over the Dark One, and the rest of it's just semantics.
Right. Yeah, this is also one of those moments where you just, I don't know. This moment has a very... divisive is the wrong word because there's way more than two takes on this moment. But this moment splits a lot of ways. There's a lot of people who really don't like Veins of Gold as a resolution to mental health crises. And there's a lot of people who do. And sometimes they are pointing at the exact same things and simply having inverse takes. So it's like there's not one answer. It's a moment that creates a lot of very different takes around mental health and trauma and resolution and stuff.
I'm willing to have a magical solution to a magical insanity.
Yeah, but if you've been following along, empathizing with him with your real life non-magical insanity, it can create some strange discords.
Mm-hmm.
Discords in the lowercase sense, not in the messaging platform sense, just in the literal, like, harmonious sense.
Right. Isn't it crazy that now so many platforms have taken somewhat common use words and turn them into the names of platforms that were like, oh yeah, that bird tweeted. No, it just made a noise. It didn't send out a message on Twitter, right? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to clarify when you say Discord, you're not meaning the platform. You have to
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, I've noticed a lot of people being like, I was really vibing with Rand's mental health issues right up until he got magically fixed. And then it kind of all fell apart and I felt weird afterwards. And yeah, because I mean, yeah, canonically it is a magic problem. But like when you've spent a huge part of your teenagehood holding on to these books as a lifeline, it can create some strange feelings when that's the resolution. Or not. For some people, it was really powerful for their real life stuff.
For me, it was, right? Because I feel like for me, at least, the idea of sort of having two sides of yourself that you're able to reconcile, right? Like, I think that is powerful. It's also something that I've seen over and over and over again in fantasy, because the voice in your head who gives you knowledge and you later merge with or later becomes part of you is such a trope in fantasy. Look at Rasslin and Vizendantilus, just as like one older example. I think of a couple more. I think there's one, Richard Knack wrote a series in which someone gets knowledge from his ancestor, like his grandfather inhibits him. I can think of a sci-fi version of it by Alistair Reynolds where that happens, right? Like the idea that an ancestor of yours or some older person who acquired knowledge merges into the younger person, gives them that knowledge, and that's what lets them overcome. Dark City was basically that, except they imprinted memories instead of another personality, right? The merger of those... of an experienced being with a young personality is such a fantasy trope that I feel like I saw it coming from so far away. And for me, when I read this, it was a finally. It was a like, okay, now we have the promise of the dragon who is reborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he is the leader to fight the last battle, right? And it's been prophesized and... used in so many other bits of media that this to me was that. To me, the integration is less the interesting part. To me, it's the interesting part about deciding not to destroy the world. To me, that's where the crux of this series comes down to. And like his reasoning behind that and his decision, which, again, it's fantasy, right? Love saves the world, right? The answer is love. Of course, the answer is love. Right? It's either choice or a love. And this is, you get to choose love, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, I think for me, by the time I got to this, I had read so many books where love is the answer that I was like, really? That you couldn't have noticed that sooner? Like, I thought that was kind of like Save the World 101. Like, I don't know. I was kind of expecting something a little more complicated just because that's always the punchline. And It just felt a little like, I mean, it works. It's satisfying. It was set up. But I was expecting a slightly more esoteric intellectual twist on top of that. I don't know. There was something missing from it for me. Which I think just because every other book I'd ever read ends with love as the answer. Like, I was expecting more from Wheel of Time.
Right.
I don't know. That might have not been fair of me. Maybe, I don't know.
I completely agree with you there. And I think that the fact there's 2 more books is the testament to what more there is. A lot of other series would end here. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I agree. I agree that this is the constant. Who would have written it better, Jordan or Sanderson? Right? Are there scenes, the battles, where I think that I really love that Sanderson wrote those? Yeah, absolutely. Stuff like this, the moral questions, I feel like Jordan wrote them better because he didn't give you as many answers.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to bring up too, was like, this feels like such a pivotal moment for the whole series. Like, it was always being built up to. Jordan clearly had been writing towards it for a long time. And yet the handling of it just feels entirely Sanderson.
100%.
And like, I feel like that also loses something. Like, Jordan might have had some more sneaky thoughts to put in at the edges that Sanderson just couldn't possibly. I don't know if that's just me projecting, but I feel like there's very little Jordan in this other than I've been spending 13 books building up to this moment.
I think the shortness of these chapters attests to that as well. I think Sanderson wanted to embellish as little as possible from what he had. And so, like, it's really, I think what he got was a very bare bones outline of this chapter, and he fleshed out that outline as little as possible.
I mean, I would be terrified to write this scene with as few notes as he clearly had. Like,
yeah.
you see what I'm building to, you write it. Like,
yeah. Right. So that's because these are some of the shortest 3 chapters in this book, in any of Sanderson's books that he writes, right? These chapters are bam, 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 right? 1, 2, 3. And the third one's, Egwene reacting. This whole thing is like, 6 pages for 2 chapters, something like that. It's super short.
Yeah, I think TC Traveler just put it really well in chat. Jordan let us sit in shades of gray and didn't connect the dots.
Yeah.
And Sanderson, just both of those things are against his entire style.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he had to really push against his own. He had to lean on very inappropriate tools to get through this impossible assignment. And, it shows, but props to him for managing as well as he. I mean, it is good. It is absolutely passing the grade, passing the curve. It's fine. I'm critiquing because I have a right.
For me, to me, this feels like we are critiquing the thread count on a beautiful tapestry. And it's
exactly.
Right? Like, at one point, the weaver changed, and the new weaver uses a slightly different style and maybe a slightly rougher weave. But from a distance, you cannot tell the difference until you get down close and start looking at the way it's done. Or a painter using oil paints, maybe I know oils versus acrylic isn't a good comparison here, but like a different kind of oil paint, perhaps, right? Like,
yeah, it's nerd shit. We're being extremely nerd about all of this. So, but yeah, this is one of the biggest Sanderson chapters. This is one of the really big, huge scenes that he gets to write that like the whole series has been building towards. It's, in terms of plot importance, I'd say it's comparable to any of the other highlight moments. Like, this is top shelf. Right. This is you hang the series on moments like this. And it was done fantastically well, given all of the conditions, and I'm glad we're doing the whole rest of the book today, because it really is just one last grand crescendo, and then we close the book.
This is the accumulation of Rand's journey, right? This is where he goes from being a nobody farm boy to essentially a god, right? Like,
he even acknowledges that it's been 2 years, which is such a random, rare thing to be reminded. It's only been 2 years that this poor boy has been on this journey.
I know I've said that many times on the podcast, right? I reiterate over and over again. Oh, we're only at this many months since.
Yeah. But like, as a reader coming through, like, Rand never thinks about how it's only been 2 years. But there's a line in here where he's like, this has only been 2 years. I mean, he doesn't say only, but So, yeah, culmination. That is the word.
Gotta think about that. That's 600 some odd days. We've done as many episodes of this podcast.
Oh my God. We could podcast every single day for a day passing the books, and it's wow.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Poor Rand.
Yeah, by the time the series is over, we'll have done an episode for every day that's passed in the series, give or take.
Damn. All right, you want to read us into this thing?
Sure. And just another man, is it the leaf?
Yeah, it's the leaves. I'm guessing for all of the Tuatha'an connections? The way the leaf thoughts that he's having about this?
I think in this book it's as simple as there were Tuatha'an in this chapter, so Tuatha'an, leaf of peace, the way of the leaf.
It's profound, damn it. He thought about them for 2 pages.
Yeah. So the way of leaf is mentioned more than once and everything like that. Sorry. I don't know why. I do not give them the benefit of the doubt in this book. It's so funny.
We're just nitpicky little snark goblins.
We really are. I mean, I guess that's why everybody's here, so welcome.
Just why we get paid the not exactly big but still existent bucks.
Thank you to everybody who gives us a portion of your income. We really appreciate it. I know it's a...
You give us some of your money in exchange for this bullshit. You're amazing.
You're making it hard to pull myself together.
Sorry.
Okay. It's fine. Okay. Rand walked, stump shoved in the pocket of his coat, head down, carrying the access key securely wrapped in white linen and looped to his belt at his side. Nobody paid attention to him. He was just another man walking the streets of Abu Dar. Nothing special, despite the fact that he was taller than most. He had reddish gold hair, maybe suggesting some Aiel blood, but a lot of strange people had fled to the city recently to seek Seanchan protection. What was one more? As long as a person wasn't able to channel, he or she could find stability here, safety. That bothered him. They were his enemies. They were conquerors. He felt their land shouldn't be peaceful. They should be terrible, full of suffering because of the tyrannical rule. But it wasn't like that at all. Not unless you could channel. What if the Seanchan did with this group of people was horrifying? Not all was well beneath this happy surface, and yet it was shocking to realize how well they treated others. Tinkers camped outside the city in large groups. Their wagons had not moved for weeks, and it seemed they were forming villages. As Rand had moved among them, he'd heard some of them speak of settling down. Others had objected to this, of course. They were the Tinkers, the traveling people. How would they find the song if they did not search for it? It was as much a part of them as the way of the leaf. So, the Seanchan are sort of the impetus for how this all starts, right? Like, he wants to destroy the Seanchan. He wants to take them out. But he sees among them a people, right? He sees himself in the enemy.
Right, because, they're occupying a city full of regular people, right? This is not a entirely military barracks. This is a city.
And in a lot of ways, him trying to force the nobles under him to do what he wants, to not fleece, the farmers. He's like, man, I really barely was able to get any improvement in these farmers' lives. Yelling and screaming and bashing. And here the Seanchan come in and take some of the most chaotic parts of the country, of the continent, hammer them together, install some local rulers, spread the influence of the people that matter, and all of a sudden people are living in peace and harmony and are able to improve their lives, as long as you're not a channeler, which he says a couple of times.
Yeah, but it is... I wonder how realistic that is, that the Seanchan can just come in and hammer peace and stability down on literally everyone except the 1% of people who can channel, the 1 to 2%. Like, that seems overly simple. Because, the Seanchan are obviously the Americans, right? Like, that's their analogy. So, thinking, about parallels between Seanchan and the Americans, the USians. We're not doing a very good job of that, right? Like, we're, horribly oppressing huge swaths of our population, and it's not even making that great of a time for the people who are ostensibly winning in that caste system. So, how well could, some other power come in and impose happiness and order on us, right? Like, it feels a little simplistic and fast for them to just show up and have it work seamlessly.
Here's what I'll say is I think what he's seeing is selection bias, right? He is going to the nice areas that the Seanchan have good control over and being like, oh man, they have such good control over it. There's probably areas he's not seeing, right? If you and I've lived in a city long enough, right? No matter how nice the city, there are slums.
No, they like specifically clean up the Rahad and like take everyone away to work camps. And that's good? Question mark. They cleaned out all the homeless encampments and put them in controlled work camps. And everyone's fine with that, and it's good. And only the channelers are the ones being oppressed. Okay. Yeah. I do. I just feel like Rand is oversimplifying the happiness that the Seanchan subjects are experiencing. Like, yeah, they're praising it. It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, I mean, to go farther back in history, right? I mean, all the way back to the freaking Romans, right? They moved in, installed their own people on top, and left people to live their own lives. But that's not imposing their own order in the same way.
Yeah, and I think the Seanchan are Americans is a little too simplistic, right? Like, I mean, I think there's certain lots of elements. Yeah.
Well, Jordan wrote that, so, you know.
But I think he doesn't ever just say they're one culture, right?
All sure. I mean, it is a Jordan version of America.
Right. So, and one thing, picturing it from Rand's head, I'm always trying to see what is he doing. He's comparing it to his rule. Right, that's what he's doing. So, of course, he's in self-doubt mode. So he's going to see the rosy best side of the Seanchan rule because he's being like, "Man, I'm a real piece of shit, and I can't even do what they did." So, of course, he's looking at the Instagram reels, right, of the Seanchan culture.
Sure, yeah, and also, I mean, like, the Seanchan are so brutal on critiques that you're not going to see a lot of people being loudly unhappy. Because people who are going to be effectively unhappy are going to do so very quietly.
And he's walking the streets. He's not going into people's homes. He's not in their private spaces. He's not talking to them, after a hard day work, right? Like.
And again, this has not lasted for very long. People haven't realized the true cost of this. And it really breaks my heart with the Tuatha too, because they're like, this is fine. Like, we've had centuries of persecution as a people. We've never had a nation who was willing to take care of us. These people will take care of us. And I can't help but think of the Jewish diaspora across Eastern Europe, just like that went well in the end. My ancestors can attest. I understand Rand's critiques of himself versus the Seanchan. I get it, right? He is one man who was trying to, like, single-handedly force feudalism to stop being a thing overnight. Like, he did not give himself an easy job. I can see where his critiques are when he looks at the Seanchan, but I also just really question his critical thinking and assessment of the actual Seanchan Empire Faustian bargain that these people are making. I don't think he's seeing all of it.
I just had to sit back and spend a few seconds considering the settlement of the Tinkers as the formation of, like, an Israel-like country.
I was thinking not so much that, more like being in the Pale of Settlement, because they're not doing the imperializing, right? They're like creeping into someone else's empire, like a Polish Lithuania Commonwealth, saying, "Please move here. We really need people with your skills. We definitely won't turn on you in 300 years." That's definitely not going to happen. But yeah, again, everything in these books is happening so fast. It's like... Yeah. The timeline is... It's hard to compare to some other things.
It's kind of like, remember where the... Oh, God, not Where the Wild Things Are. Clan of the Cave Bear? And she, in one lifetime, discovers, like, 100,000 years worth of, like, technical advancements.
Right.
It's like, just to show that happening in a way that makes sense and not be like, so then 100 years later, we have another generation of people, and they figured out this thing. And then, you have to compress it down a little bit.
Yeah. And again, in fairness, Rand is having a very bad time. His critical thinking skills, I do not expect to be up to par. I just... In my critical reading of it, I'm just like, I don't think that's how the Seanchan are. I don't think everyone's happy. I don't think everyone's having a good time. I don't think this is actually the utopia that Rand is judging himself against.
And my headcanon is just that he's seeing it through his own self-doubt. And so, of course, he's seeing the best side of it.
Yeah, that's super fair. I mean, I don't deserve any grace whatsoever. I will give all the grace in the world to my friends, but I deserve none, right? Like, I get it. I get Rand having a different standard for himself than everyone.
So we get the Fisher King, the Beggar King, whatever you want to call him, the final transformation into prophecy, right? Because there was a prophecy.
Yeah, the blind man will stand on his own grave and weep, all of that. He is blind right now. I mean, even says at the end of the book, he opens his eyes for the first time in a long time, right? Like, he is in a fully blinded state, metaphorically.
And a somewhat blinded state physically because of the fireball.
Well, also
that burned his
literal
retinas.
ocular damage, yes.
And so, this is a parent. Perrin had a dream of Rand in rags, wearing a rough cloak with bandages on his eyes, and Min had a viewing of him with a beggar's staff.
Yeah, the beggar's staff he's very much acquired at this point. It's not truly a beggar's staff, but the vibe he's giving it is definitely beggar's staff. And he casts it aside later. I'm assuming a beggar picks it up at some point.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But I like that he's using it just to hide his height, like he does all the time, right? Because he's always slouching, and he's like, "Oh, it hurts my back."
Which, again, very beggar posture.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
The hunched over thing, he looks like it. He looks like the hermit from a tarot deck.
And so, he's walking through the Seanchan territory, being like, "I suck. I have no excuses. I basically killed my father. I was milliseconds away from releasing that weave and taking him out."
And he says that he wasn't insane, and he can't blame insanity. And I'm like, please refer to Varen's comment that you are being driven absolutely bonkers by the pressures that the world has placed on you. Like, please allow yourself some grace for that. Come on.
And let's be honest, like, he is insane. Like, he's merged that the sanity
Exactly.
is that voice in the back of his
insane.
head. Yeah, that he snuffed out. He snuffed out the voice of sanity. The Rand that was, the boy of the two rivers who still cared about moral things. That one's dead for all intents and purposes. That was the voice he killed.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, Rand, you are not in your right mind. Like, yes, you are responsible for your actions. You should feel bad and have a big cathartic moment, but, like, please let's not pretend that you were in regular, normal baseline control of yourself.
And there's so many things here where he's like, oh, and Rand's voice sounded like his own voice. And it's like, it's clear that Rand, the insane part of Rand, has taken over.
Yeah, he is finally picking up on what the rest of us have noticed over the course of the last several books, is that he is totally himself off the edge. Yeah, Rand says there don't seem like an oppressed people and there's no undercurrent of resentment. My man, you are stressed the hell out and you have been here for a day. You are not necessarily able to assess all of the nuances of what's happening here. Plus, the Seanchan have been here for like a week. So let the undercurrent stir a little bit, okay?
I love this one. When Rand heard the commoners speaking, they were glad for the stability. They actually praised the Seanchan for conquering them out in the open where anybody can hear and they know about listeners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, you're probably listening to like middle-class people who had issues with the poors who have been swept up into work camps. Of course, they're praising the new overseers, especially where the overseers can hear and are glaring at them while holding their weapons suggestively.
Or they're danger kittens.
Right? Yeah, the danger kittens for sure. Oh, and Nentalk made a really good point in chat. Before, he was a tyrant who just popped in and said, do this. And what he's seeing in the Seanchan is a full system that is able to come in and do that. And I think that's a really good point. He is judging himself against an entire infrastructure. Me, one human being, is not as good as a massive bureaucracy that has spent hundreds of years designing itself into interoperability. Come on, dude.
Yet even in Erdaman, he's trying to get like the people together to elect the king. He's trying to get some form of a bureaucracy together, and he fails miserably at that too.
Again, one person trying to whip this together from scratch. The Seanchan are moving in with the institutional momentum of the Imperial Chinese that they are also drawn from as much as the Americans, right? They have these just massive momentum of China as they just are like, no, we'll just be Seanchan at you in a way that Rand could never. Rand is trying to be like, hey, quit having feudalism, right? Not having feudalism anymore was a big, messy process. Everywhere that they've gotten rid of feudalism, it has been a lot harder than one tyrant popping in for a week and saying, I'll kill you if you don't, and then leaving again.
And I would argue that in Cairhien, they haven't really gotten rid of feudalism.
That's what I'm saying. He was trying to in many, many places. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And he's judging himself against a different kind of feudalism. Like, come on, dude. It's not fair. Yeah. Tinkers are safe here. Rand's own father isn't safe from him. Fuck thinking about that. We are not here to think. We are here to destroy. We must destroy. He gets too caught up in his own conscience and then just switches to murder mode. Just like on a dime. Again, so insane.
And here he asks the question, if he drew that much power, basically started fighting and destroying the Seanchan, how many lives would end? Would it simply not light a beacon for the Forsaken as he had in cleansing Sidene? And I think, and that made me wonder, like, oh, why don't they come for him? And I think he just doesn't embrace the power long enough.
Well, I also don't know that any of them have the inclination to chase him around while he's doing whatever the fuck he's doing. Right? Like, he holds a lot of the power up on top of Dragonmount, but, like, they might all just be like, you know what? We're going to let this play out. We're good. We're fine. He'll just annihilate us and then go back to thinking about the Dark One. Like, it's cool. He's using one of his legendary actions to be untouchable, is what's happening.
There's that. Also, this is kind of what the Dark One wants to happen, right? He's hoping that Rand won't have the epiphany and will do the thing where he goes further.
Where he firebombs a city to cover his retreat. Right. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Oh, no. I mean, like when he's up on the mountain and drawing power.
Oh, yeah.
It's like no one, why don't the Forsaken come attack him when they feel him hold as much power as he holds when he cleanses the source, right? I think 2 reasons. One, I think he only holds it for a few minutes.
It says hours.
It does say
He's
hours? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's up there for hours, but he's not pulling in all that power.
I assumed he was holding the power the whole... Oh, I thought he was.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
He does escalate at the end.
Yeah, he escalates.
He's holding the power to some extent the whole time, but you're right. He does escalate pretty dramatically after. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry.
And so in that moment... Yeah. In that moment, I think there's not a lot of time for them to come. But also, like, the Dark One wants him to draw in all that power and use it to end the pattern.
Right. The Dark One's like, at this point, we're letting him cook. At this point, we're just letting him cook. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, Rand goes murder mode and then pauses. It's like he is just flip-flopping so hard, right? He's like, I need to destroy them. And then he tosses aside his staff, but doesn't quite decide to embrace the power yet and keeps walking, right? It's like the tension here is real. There's a lot of tension. What is he going to do? He literally keeps changing his mind line to line about what he's going to do.
This is a crazy man with a gun to your head and his finger on the trigger, arguing with himself about whether to blow your head off.
This is giving me Fight Club.
Right, yeah. a little bit.
But yeah, exactly. Talking to someone who's not there, but you are in line of a real gun that is there. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then I think this is a really telling line here. It will be a mercy, Lewis Theron whispered. Death is always a mercy. The madman didn't sound as crazy as he once had. Which we've heard a couple of times, but this next part is unique. He says, in fact, his voice had started to sound an awful lot like Rand's own voice. And I think that's the moment, right? When Rand is like, yeah, Lewis Theron's me. I'm Lewis Theron. Like, he is the madman. I am the madman.
Right. Like a revelation that the book readers have come across as of book 4.
Sure.
As of their 4th reread. Like, Rand is finally getting it.
And so he walks over, he's sort of like, because I think part of his plan, he said he threw away his staff, but he's going to a strategic place to start his attack, right? His walk was to take out the Daughter of the Nine Moons, right? Cut the head off the snake first, and then work your way down. And so he's like, this is the beginning of his attack, but he's walking to the most strategic place. So he looks down at the place where the Daughter of the Nine Moons, where Tuon is staying, and is like, how pissed would have Matt been if it been like Rand was like, oh yeah, I took out the Daughter of the Nine Moons, and Matt was like, that was my wife. Can you imagine the blood feud between them?
That would be bitter. But yeah, he has the very like weird serial killer-y thought of like, I'm going to give these walls a purity they've never had. It'll actually make them more complete. They won't be truly complete until I've destroyed them. I'm just like, you are so in the wrong kind of dark place right now. Like, that is some serial killer shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you your perfection as you die. Like, no, you stop thinking like that.
And then there's like 2 paragraphs of him planning out exactly how he's going to murder everybody. It's like beat by beat. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, it's that very Sherlock, right?
He's just going to rain fire on the city. A more mundane thing, just firebombing a whole city for his convenience. Like, you're going to kill
And then he's like, and then I'll move on to Amador, and then Tenchico, and then ba-boom, 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 take out city after city. He's basically planning out firebombing every major Seanchan city in one night by himself.
And like, honestly, it's kind of an amazing moment of revealing how strong he is powerfully, that he could be never remaining in one place long enough to be caught. Like a flickering light of death, like a burning ember flaring to life here, then there. Like, you have to be like level 19 to do that kind of shit, Well,
it's him plus the Choden Call, right? That's the thing. The Choden Call essentially gives him
yes.
unlimited power, right? It's not just Rand power. It's the most powerful channeler in all of history, using the most powerful channeling artifact of all time. And it's like, he's already used it to undo something the Dark One did. Like, he has that kind of power to challenge the gods who existed before the creation of the pattern, right?
Right. And it's like, this is why everyone's so afraid of channelers, is because this is the ultimate expression of what it means to be able to blow shit up with your mind. This is the logical extreme of where that's going to end up, is Mr. Godman with the ultimate nuke.
Which, like, as this moment really makes you kind of sympathize with the Red, right? Because, like, how many men is it worth killing to prevent someone having the power to wipe the pattern, the planet, off the face of the Earth?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that means, but,
Right, to annihilate the planet, to remove continents,
yes,
to shatter us down to the core, to blow up the sun. Like, who the fuck knows, right? Like, yeah, it is not a normal amount of power for a man to have, but the concept of one man being able to travel from place to place to place, just raining fire down and then vanishing, you could do that with a lot less power than this man has. This is something that any madman over the course of centuries could have done. Yeah, a lot of sympathy for the Red. Their purpose is not entirely without merit. Their purpose has a core nugget of a very real hazard prevention. Have they gone completely bonkers with it? Yes.
No, yeah.
But like, the validity of the mission statement, very valid.
All of the colors of the Ajah's rainbow have a little bit of black mixed in with them. So it's made their purpose a little muddy, shall we say.
Yeah, exactly. Any tool can be used badly. Any ideology can be warped in a bad direction. That doesn't mean that every tool and idea ever is bad.
Mm-hmm. So he grabs Saidin, and
Saidin grabs him.
Yeah. So I had a loose theory about this, right? So we know the sickness of him grabbing Saidin is related to him sort of crossing streams with Moradin.
Like, Moradin's also channeling at the same time, kind of?
Just in terms of timing, right? This occurred after he crossed streams with Moradin. This started occurring after that event, right? So they are most likely related. Okay?
Sure, yeah.
Sure, right. Now, that's sort of my thesis here. And so the reason why this affects him more than it ever has is because he is so far into Moradin's philosophy, he's so far out of his body. This idea that everything should die, there's no purpose, that takes him out of his body and into Moradin's, because that's Moradin's philosophy. And the further out of his body he is, the more there's this reverberation of him snapping back into his body when he needs to channel. And so the reason it's so bad now is he's so far into that negative attitude, negative philosophy. And the reason why it goes away is because he's, again, at peace with himself. He's centered in who he is. And so he no longer has that effect.
I like it. I mean, that's really like out there headcanon, but I like it. It captures so many little bits and puts them into a constellation that makes sense. Because he is so fucking Ishamael. Like, not even Moradin. Like, this is like pre-breaking Ishamael. Kind of like, I've just discovered nihilism for the first time in 1,000 years. Like, just the level of there is no point. Like, it's like, dude, I was thinking this when I was a depressed 14-year-old. Okay, like this is nihilism 101. This is you just breathe and like drink some fucking water for once in your life, and you will get through this and like figure out that love is the answer.
Eat some shrooms, man. The Loyal has them, I'm sure.
I mean that helps too. But I'm definitely Loyal has them. Loyal definitely has those.
They grow on the trees. It's not. But yeah, I was trying to put together the fact that the vibration, the channeling sickness, whatever we call it, is linked to the crossing of the streams, but seems to be getting worse and then fixes itself at the end. So like, what's going on here? Because he doesn't undo the crossing of the streams. He doesn't undo his link to Moradin. That still exists.
Right. Yeah, they're still quite linked. He uses that link over time, and it doesn't cause him nausea anymore. No, I really like that.
That he's basically stretched out because he's so out of his own head, and that every time he seizes the source, he gets plucked like a string, and that's what's causing the vibration. And so, when he's back in his own body, there's no tension anymore.
Yeah. A string will not make a sound if it's not under tension. That's kind of how stringed instruments work. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense because the nausea, we've really been on our own to figure out a metaphysical headcanon for why the nausea is happening. There is no good book canon, and this yes ands that. This continues that in a very productive way. So I like it. I like it when you get too nihilistic and out of your body, then seizing the source. It's not a good chord. It's bad harmony.
Right. So yeah, it's sort of the sickness is this double effect, the crossing of the streams and his nihilism.
Yeah. So like literally fix your brain to fix your body is literally what we're getting here. Like fix your thoughts and fix your physical health is literally what this is saying. No, that's not what this is saying. No, don't think that. Don't think that. But it is interesting that his mental state and his ability to handle the power are so linked in that way. I mean, they've always been linked. It's it's a mental trick to seize the source, but to have that thing with Moradin, the crossing of the streams is such a weird monkey wrench.
It's one of my favorite moments in the series, and I love when he gets metaphysical with it. It's really
there's nothing like that in any other fantasy series I've read. It's so uniquely Wheel of Time. Like, I'm sure there's examples that someone can come up with, but it just feels like, and this is one of the things that sets Wheel of Time apart from its peers.
So the people he was about to wipe out show concern from him when he falls down sick, which completely overwhelms him, and he
People
skims.
Care?
Yeah. So, but I was going to murder all of you. I was going to rain fire on your heads, and you're trying to take care of me and show concern and calling an ambulance and asking me if I'm okay and giving me water. And he's like, fuck. Like this, it totally puts the nail in the coffin of his ability to rain fire down on innocent people. He walks among them for too long. He sees their lives, and they show concern for him. And he's going to repair that with death and fire? No, he can't. Like, he physically can't. He's still Rand.
Oh, right, because this was going to be, like, possibly an impossible choice for him already. Now they've just guaranteed that it's impossible. Just, yeah, for sure.
No, and then he's in his head, why can't I be strong enough? Why can't I do what I must? And the whole, him and Lewis Theron are thinking the same thing, right? And that, like, I can't be strong enough. It's not about being strong. You have to be cruel. You have to be mean. Like, it's not the right thing to do. It's not about strength.
Right. He's realizing something that, Cadsuane and Soralia have realized for a couple of books, that, like, he's trying to be the wrong thing in order to face the last battle. He has assigned the qualities he needs to the concept of strong, but he's wrong. Strong isn't that you can be as strong as you want, and that's not going to let you do what needs to be done. And for some reason, you seem to think what needs to be done is being as bad as a Forsaken. So, like, get your head right.
Destruction. Yeah. This is really like, and this is the first time where I think he starts to question if he really should be killing the Dark One, right? Because he's like, what is my purpose, right? I thought I could avoid killing, and now I found that to be a necessary part, but is it? Is I'm doing the right thing? Right.
And are you right to keep letting people live so that they can die? And, like, is just embracing death fully the way to go? Or is getting rid of death entirely the way to go? And then he thinks about how he is necessary destruction. Like, why had the pattern pushed him so hard? And I would say first half of that, yes. I don't know that the pattern pushed you to be hard. I think you pushed you to be hard. The pattern pushed you to have to figure out how to deal with shit. You chose hardness as a coping mechanism. But I do think that destruction is necessary, right? This is a normal part of all cycles, right? You've even got like the whole goddess Kali that's like all about sacred destruction. Like, she's terrifying. Do not invoke her without good cause. But like, destruction is a part of a cyclic universe. You can't have things made out of the ashes of the old unless the old burns, right? Like, it's sort of a whole thing.
I mean, Sanderson, his whole Mistborn series is based on the two gods of ruin and preservation, right? One
Right,
preserves,
yeah,
one
exactly.
ruins, right? Like, it's destruction, destroyer and creator.
Right. And like entropy is one of the, the things like, destruction is inherent to things. So, Rand didn't need to be a nonviolent Zen person who just walked through the world without ever causing armies to clash, right? Like, that is not the thing. Some amount of destruction was going to mark the end of this age, right? As the plow breaks the earth, shall he break the lives of men, is a real prophecy.
Remnant of remnant, right? Like, yeah.
Right. Like, these are real things, but like, you being a cruel and violent destroyer is a extension that we did not need. This is not necessary. There's too little love in that destruction. Destruction can have an element of love in it. I mean, have you ever cleared out a garden in order to prepare the ground for the next wave? Like, that is destruction that is done as an act of creativity. So destruction, he is, again, just like with being strong. He's not sure what he's trying to do here. And he's figuring out that he's on a dead end.
Yeah, and so he's bouncing around to a couple of places. He ends up in the field where he fought the Seanchan with Kalandor, right? That's where he skims to.
Right, because he gets a gateway to get out of there, but he has to go somewhere close by, right? Because he's just skimming. And then once he's done that, then the skimming impulse is able to allow him to go at a much wider range, I guess. Yes, Athlon, editing podcasts is creative destruction. This is a very good way of putting it. I destroy so many things and it makes the product better.
Yeah. Carving, editing. And anytime you're cutting away from something that exists to reveal something else within.
Yep, very much so. And I do like how his skimming platform, he's like curled up in a fetal position on the dragon or on the ancient seal of Aes Sedai, right? Like, the visual of that is like, I'm okay with it. That's a very good visual. He's curled around the Cho'odong Call in the fetal position on the dividing line between white and black. It's just floating in blackness. Beautiful. Beautiful.
A very Sanderson image, though.
Yeah, not mad about it. Not even mad about it. I'm like, you know what, dude? You are writing some real difficult shit. Please put a little of your own flair on it. That's perfectly acceptable.
And the Saidin Saidar like imagery is just sitting there to be used, right? Because
yeah, that was Jordan's fault.
Yeah. So he forms a gateway to the mountaintop, and that's sort of the end of this chapter, right?
Oh yeah, I guess he doesn't even skim. He just gateways through.
Yeah, because I'm assuming he knows that meadow well enough to just gateway out from there.
Right,
'Cause
exactly.
He's been there
That's
for
where he
some
just
time.
gatewayed in.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that too. Yeah.
Well, and he did that whole Kalandor thing there. Yeah, so it's an easy place for him to gateway out of. And yeah, he takes himself right to the tippity top of Dragon Mount. He does exactly 0 hiking to earn that summit. And as someone who thinks mountain climbers are really cool to read about, rude.
He took the chopper to the top.
Rude. I don't count that.
He didn't go up there for the climb. He went up there for the view.
Rude.
And you could argue that his whole life has been a climb to the top of the literal hilltop, right? All his suffering, all his, he's been climbing and climbing and climbing against all of that for the last 2 years.
I guess we can allow that. I guess that's allegorically correct.
And now he's at the tip of his effort, right? The end of his struggle to face the last battle.
Plus, it would probably literally take a Randland week for him to hike up the thing from the foothills. So we don't got that kind of time at this point.
No one's walking to Urithiru here.
Yeah, and I bet it's a hard climb. I mean, this is a very it's artificial isn't quite the right word, but it is not an easy mountain to. Yeah, it's magically induced, and it has not been eroded for that long. This would be probably an impossible mountain to scale without some hardcore rock climbing skills and equipment.
I always imagine because he punctured such a perfect hole out of the crust that the Earth's crust was super solid around it, which kept the lava going vertical for a really long time and made a really high peak.
I would agree with that because it was almost definitely the middle of a continent, which is where the continental crust is going to be very thick and deep and go super far down into the mantle and be made of much more melt-resistant material than ocean floor. So yeah, I totally agree that this was a borehole that more or less just held steady until the mountain on top was literally heavy enough to hold the subsequent pressure down. And I mean, you've even got a lava lake at the top of this thing. I mean, not literally at the top, but like visible from the top, like below.
In the caldera.
Yeah, like high up the slopes of the mountain. And that's why there's been smoke coming out forever. But like lava lakes are very rare. There's like 5 or 6 in the world. There's really not that many. And because the conditions to make them are very specific. And I think that a borehole that runs straight down to the mantle definitely would have a lava lake on top. That seems correct. I really want to see one someday.
I kind of always imagine a cross between Mount St. Helen and Crater Lake. Like Crater Lake made out of lava in Mount St. Helen. Because it's got that sort of big shear on one side, right? That cuts down.
Yeah.
Like a big face, like half of the mountain face is sheared off, right? Like we get a really detailed description of the mountain in this chapter. It's pretty, very pretty.
Yeah, your vision, but then stick all that on a much, much taller mountain, much, much higher up in the air. But yeah, totally.
And normally clouds are below the peak of Dragon Mount. In this chapter, they're above, right? The unnaturalness of that because they're so high. There's a real separation between heaven and earth.
Yeah, and like the rules of engagement are really being bent by the Dark One, as evidenced by the cloud cover covering even the mountain that normally pierces the clouds.
I'm just going to read from A Gateway Opened.
Yeah, do it.
A gateway opened, and he stumbled to his feet, clutching the access key. He stepped from the skimming platform and out onto an empty meadow, the place where he'd fought the Seanchan once with Kalendor and failed. He stared at this place for a long time, breathing in and out, and then spun another gateway. This one opened onto a field of snow, and icy wind blasted at him. He stepped through, feet crunching into the snow, and let the gateway close. Here the world spread before him. Why have we come here? Rand thought. Because, Rand replied, we made this. This is where we died. He stood on the very point of Dragon Mount, the lone peak that had erupted where Lewis Theron had killed himself 3,000 years before. To one side, he could see down hundreds of feet to where the side of the mountain opened into a blasted-out chasm. The opening was enormous, larger than it looked in profile, a wide oval of red, blazing, churning rock. It was as if a chunk of the mountain were simply missing, torn away, leaving the peak to rise into the air, but the entire side of the mountain gone. Rand stared down into that seething chasm. It was like the maw of a beast. Heat burned from below, and flakes of ash twisted into the sky. The dun sky was clouded above him. The ground seemed equally distant, barely visible, like a quilt marked with patterns. Here a patch of green that was a forest, there a stitch that was a river. To the east, he saw a small speck in the river, like a floating leaf caught in the tiny current. Tarvalin. Rand sat down, the snow crunching beneath his weight. He set the access key into the bank before him and wove air and fire to keep himself warm. Then he rested his elbows on his knees and his head on his hand, staring at the diminutive statue of the man with the globe. To think. And that takes us right into Veins of Gold.
Yeah. Just there it is. A couple hours later, a new chapter starts.
How long does it say how long he's been there? Oh, he had been there for hours.
Yeah.
So hours.
Ambiguous number of hours. But we know that he started out the day early in the day. He started out the chapter early in the day in Ebu Dar, and he has now traveled many miles to the east of Ebu Dar, which means it is later in the day than it was. So we're like mid-afternoon to evening is probably about where we're at, given his geographic shift on top of the hours being a very open-ended term.
He does the thing where he makes himself warm, and he also compresses the air so he has enough air to breathe, because otherwise there wouldn't be, because he's above plane height.
He's in the death zone. Yeah. And you can go to the death zone without supplemental gas for brief periods of time to do epic feats of mountaineering if you condition yourself really hardcore for it. He has jumped from sea level to in the death zone in the course of a single day. He probably would have gotten the cerebral edema within the minutes it took him to figure out that he needed to come up with that weave, if we're being realistic.
But I think the point of the weave is that he's doing it naturally, even though it's something that Asmodean couldn't teach him, right? He's fully accessing his memories and his skills of Lewis Theron. There's very little barrier between them. Yeah. Yeah.
It's no longer spotty, sometimes here, sometimes not. Now he's just intuitively has the weaves every time he reaches for them. It's like, oh, I need a thing. And Lewis Theron's like, here you go. Here's the thing. And he still has been holding the source. He says he has not let go of the source specifically because he's afraid of the nausea of seizing it again. So he might be blazing, but he is channeling.
Right. He's holding the source the whole time, but he might not even be channeling, right? He's just holding the source.
Well, he is channeling to make the warmth and the air.
Oh, that's right. The weaves. Yeah.
So he's got a nice low simmer, but it's nothing that would be visible across continents.
Yeah, TC Traveler, I was going to point that out, that in the conversation, Rand thinks and Rand replied. It's not Lewis Theron replying to Rand anymore. It's just Rand replying to him.
Yeah, Lewis Theron is sort of...
is gone.
Yeah, the knowledge is from Lewis Theron Telamon, but the LTT intermediary is no longer in the picture.
Well, and I think we're, again, because there's two things going on here. There's the access to the memories, and then there's the crazy personality. That is basically, and both have merged with Rand, and it's like, dude, no, you need to realize that you don't have to be insane.
I mean, it's kind of a hint of what is to come after Vans of Gold, right? Where he just can comfortably access both of his lives. Like, he's comfortably accessing a subset of both of his lives, and that is channeling knowledge. Which also makes sense because he's blending with Moradin, who is a Age of Legends person, right? Like, yeah, sure. The Age of Legends channeling ability, let's have that just be 100% now.
Yeah, I think he's 100% like the... Yeah, I don't know how to describe how I feel about this in terms of like, he's integrated fully with Lewis Theron and the memories, but he later has to like pull the personality out, but keep the memories because the personality isn't real.
Yeah, the personality was a coping mechanism to help him deal with the fact that all these other things were happening. And, we're in the process of getting over that. So the voice is out. And yeah, he's contemplating his purpose, basically.
Right. Yeah. And this is one of those things where I really have a hard time talking about this, the way he feels, right? This angry at the world, angry at the pattern, angry at the creator, right? It's one of those things where I've certainly felt that anger, where it just feels like no matter what you do, everything goes against you and you're just angry at the world. And I feel like there's a lot of like men's mental health wrapped up in these couple of paragraphs.
Sure.
That's just like really hard to talk about in a way that is going to do it justice, especially around like anger and acceptance and losing people and loneliness. And like, there's just so much here that is pain on the page that I feel like Sanderson is doing a pretty good job of tapping into.
Yeah, and it's so Sanderson flavored too.
Yes.
Like, this is one of those parts where I'm just like, Jordan would never have phrased it like this or reiterated it this many times or been this direct, or there's just like, I don't think it's invalid because like it certainly seems like Sanderson is writing about a thing that resonates with a lot of people and echoes a lot of people's lived experience, but it just does not feel like how Jordan would have done this. And it almost doesn't even feel like the Rand I'm used to. I'm like, is this what Rand is mad about? I don't know. It's so Sanderson. It's just that to me is always what stands out, is like, this is how Sanderson sees this stuff, but I don't know if this is what Jordan was trying to get across here. I don't know. I do like that it points out that like Rand is, protecting a very sensitive person inside himself, right? That like he is just a fuzzy little farm boy that just wants everyone to be happy. And like, that's, it reiterates that, but the voice of it is so strange.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of points. He sort of talks about how everything had begun to go wrong at Moiraine's death, right? That's really the moment when he...
Which agree, yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I really would have loved to see Moiraine come back and break the cycle.
That's where the Moiraine letdown comes through, right? Is he accurately says Moraine's death between the end of Fires of Heaven and the end of Lord of Chaos, between Moraine's death and Dumai's Wells, the box, all of that. Like, those are the 2 points when the curve changes and everything is absolutely clusterfucked. Moiraine coming back needs to have an equal and opposite reaction to her loss.
And it doesn't. It's like, oh, cool. You're not dead. Kiss, kiss.
Because he's over it now.
Yeah.
I guess. He's already over it by the time she comes back.
Exactly. And then there's the whole moment in the last battle when he releases the list, right? He's like, oh, I can let go of the list entirely. And it's like, you should have let go of it when Moiraine came back.
Yes! Moiraine should have been the dude. I release you, and everyone between me and the end of the list also releases you. Like, come on now.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think, as much as I think Rand was robbed of some of his moments in the TV show, I think Moiraine was robbed of some of her moments in the book.
Big time. Big time. I don't mind Matt getting the glory of rescuing her. I don't even mind Tom coming along for the ride. But she needs to have an equivalent amount of impact afterwards in order for those first 2 statements to be true. Come on.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, so Rand is basically like, I failed to kill my feelings, and that is why I'm a bad person. It's because I can't stop feeling.
And it's like, yeah, that might not have been a good strategy, Rand, because it turns out we're a person and you have feelings no matter what you think or say or do. Like,
feelings are intrinsic to the human experience, and that is the only thing worth preserving in this metaphysical battle that you are crafted to fight.
And here's where we find out that voice that was in his head, the last remnant, that was basically knew about right and wrong, right? And wasn't just means to an end. That's finally lost his little Jiminy Cricket, his little voice, telling him what was good and right and wrong. And that's, I think, now why he's really crashing out, because he's like, I'm going to kill all the Seanchan. And there's no voice in his head saying, don't do that, don't. And he knows it's wrong. And he's like, oh, crap, I don't have a moral compass anymore. Like, that's bad going into the last battle. I think part of him knows that's bad.
Yeah, for sure. That's how he knew he still had a scrap to protect. Oh, and it says here that it's midday right now. It's not evening. It's like noon. So hours is a very... He was there for like 2 hours. Technically hours, but not like the 7 hours I was sort of mentally imagining.
Because then it would be sunset, yeah.
Exactly.
So he goes on for a while about how nothing means anything because it just repeats over and over and over again. And even if you accomplish great things, eventually it'll just fade to a legend and become a myth, and referencing the original paragraph. And that's, why even bother if even great deeds, fade away. And all we do is suffer over and over and over and over again.
And this is when he starts to channel in a more noticeable way. This is when he starts the process of powering up the Chodon call to full capacity.
Mm-hmm. Being like, basically, what if I should end this, right?
Like, what if I don't want to win? What if I don't want the pattern to continue? What if I think it's all bullshit? What if the
all
Dark
caps,
One's right?
None of this matters, nothing
what if I spoke
really
in
matters.
all caps?
Yeah.
Right, he literally is switching to all caps like the Dark One.
Or the creator.
Or the creator.
Right, because we do get at least 2 creator statements that we know of.
That's true.
Eye of the World and Memory of Light.
I also think there's an insufficient number of exclamation points on none of this matters. There should be more than one. I'm sorry,
Fair.
but if you speak in all caps at the conclusion of all those statements, you need at least 4 exclamation points. Yes, Fuji, the nothing matters staring at the wall being sad and nothing matters staring at the view being happy. Absolutely. Nothing matters is one of the most freeing things you can internalize if you do it the right way. And Rand has not.
Yeah, he definitely has it in the opposite, the bad way.
Yeah, he's the staring at the wall being sad, where, the enlightened version of himself is like, if nothing matters, then everything matters, and I can choose stuff.
And like, then what does matter? love and gluttony and
what makes you happy?
Sleeping and puppies and like
dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. That's all that matters.
The only three things I ever liked.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and Sanderson's just name dropping the wheel of time kept turning, rotating. Like we're just really, he's thinking about these big concepts about how the wheel of time turns and legends will be forgotten and myths will fade. And I mean, really sort of the meta concepts are being brought up here around the series, which like, if you want to be like, oh, what is this story about? Right. This is kind of, you could say like, oh, it's about this turning of the wheel and the things repeating and myths fading to legend, but being able to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, which I mean is a question that Robert Jordan basically begs by writing a story where all of human existence is a cycle that repeats over and over again. It does beg the question, so then what the fuck is the point?
Yes.
What is the point if we just repeat over and over again? He's been begging that question since paragraph 1 of book 1. So, on the one hand, do I think Sanderson is connecting the dots a little aggressively to ask the questions? Yes. But also, the question did need to be asked directly. Someone needed to ask the creator of this universe directly, what the hell is going on? And his response to asking the question is to begin to pull in more power than Lews Therin did to make Dragonmount, which is how you know that we are not just coming full circle to chapter 1 of book 1, we're coming full circle to the prologue of book 1. We basically never full circled the story back that far, but this time we are. Now he's drawing more. And this is the line. Fury that had been building in him for 2 years finally boiled free. He never thinks about the fact that it's only been 2 years. Rand never thinks about how little time it's been. And granted, he's not putting anything like only in front of that statement, but still, it's one of the few times that Rand acknowledges it has been 2 years for all of this.
I think it's really funny how closely Robert Jordan tracked the dates on which things were happening and how consistent he was, even down to getting the moon phases correctly. That's how we can track it, right? Like, and yet his characters never mention it.
Yeah, totally in the background.
That's the kind of stuff when I say, oh yeah, Jordan's weaving with a different thread count, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that's just like, oh yeah, there's some threads in there that are real deep. As part of that, he's like, oh, I've already failed. I've already killed Ileana, right? He's in this headspace where he's like as much Lews Therin as he is Rand al'Thor.
He's living in his trauma. He's reliving all the trauma at once. So time has become a flat circle and every tragedy is all happening at the same time. And yeah, Rand/Lews thinks he should have killed the whole world, right? Like full Moradin. He's full of Moradin. This is what the Dark One needs in order to win. This is the moment that Dark One has been building towards for all this time, is for him to realize that he hadn't gone far enough last time. That's the whole point of all the pressure.
Rand raised his arms high, a conduit of power and energy, an incarnation of death and destruction. He would end it all, and let men rest, finally, from their suffering. That's the moment. That's what the Dark One wants him to do. He's entropy. He's the end. It's eventually I will win, and the Dragon Reborn is his instrument. Like, I do think that if the pattern were to ever end, this is how it would end, right? In all of its turnings, when it finally wears down, when the wheel becomes ragged and tattery, or who knows, right? Is there ever an end to the wheel?
This would be it if it were to happen.
And because this doesn't, I fully believe that when you touch the Dark One, there's only one battle, right? That Rand always wins the last battle. Always. The wheel always continues to turn. This is not that, right? Everyone's like, oh, because the Dark One for me exists at the axis, the spoke. So when Rand goes in and does the last battle and you have all the overlapping last battles, those are all the last battles happening across all the turnings of the wheel, all at the same time. And Rand always wins because he wins this time, so he wins every time. That cycle always has to happen. However, at every turning of the wheel, there's a point at which Rand has to make the choice. And this is very Matrix-like, the one, you have to choose either to just shut it all down or keep it going. And this is where the choice can actually end the wheel and end the pattern. And it's why the Dark One can never do it, because he lost the last battle once, which means he will always lose it. So he can never be the one to destroy the pattern.
And then, yeah, Rand just does the 4-year-old thing of just asking why, or 2-year-old thing, just asking why, just over and over and over again, until suddenly the universe finally gets tired of his whining and gives him an answer.
It's his own head. He answers himself.
As I said, the universe.
He's thinking. But yeah, so Lewis Theron, right? The voice of Lewis Theron, who's now the sane voice in his head, right? He has been taken over by the mad voice in his head. The mad voice is Rand. The sane voice, the voice that's left, whatever's left, is Lewis Theron. That's a voice from outside of himself. You know, and for once, that voice basically says he wants a second chance, right? At all of this time, all of this idea that Rand is reborn as the dragon.
Reborn.
And gets to live, reborn, right? Maybe you get to try again. Maybe you can do better. Now, I think the flaw in that is no one can remember what they used to do, so how can you know to do better, right? But Rand has that rare opportunity of getting his previous life memories.
I mean, if there was ever a person who was being given the opportunity to try again, it is Rand, because of the memories. Like, that explicitly gives him that. But I mean, I think it works metaphorically to be like, make the world better than you, like, leave the world better than you found it, campsite rules. And then when your time comes around again, in theory, it'll be better. Like, you know, maybe everyone is having a second chance or a third chance. Like, maybe, you know, there's a lot of nice ways to extend that. But yeah, literally only Rand actually has access to specific memories that allow him to specifically have a second chance. But whatever.
But, you know, heavily in the myth of reincarnation, right? But this story is heavily based in that, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a deus ex machina you just have to accept in order for the books to make any sense.
And I think it's at this moment he becomes the dragon reborn, right? Because he saw the entire world in his mind's eye, lit by the glow in his hand. He remembered lives, hundreds of them, thousands of them, stretching to infinity. He remembered love and peace and joy and hope. And within that moment, something suddenly occurred to him. If I live again, then she might as well. And I think oftentimes I always remember that, oh, if I live again, she might as well, right? But I always kind of forget about the first half of that, where he remembers all of his lives stretching back to infinity, not just LTT. He becomes a fully embodied dragon reborn. And I think that's the moment when he essentially coats the corruption with the golden memories.
Because this is the corruption of one lifetime, and he is all the lifetimes.
Yeah. And that's where the golden coating comes from that Nynaeve sees later.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about how important that first half is, that he integrates with the entirety of what it means to be the dragon reborn across all the turnings of the ages, not just the dragon reborn of the current turnings lore.
Mm-hmm. Not just Lewis Theron Telamon.
Right. And in that regard, I think, you know, to the second half of the sentence, who is the she? I think the she is Ilyena. Because the pain that the dragon reborn myth and lore has been carrying through the last 3,000 years is the murder of Ilyena Sunhair, right? Everyone knows that he killed her. Rand has been terrified that he would repeat that trauma.
And his children.
That's my point, is like, there is only one victim that he has been fixated on of all the people he killed. Like, that has to be the only she. Like, again, he thinks about all the pain and trauma, and I'm like, you literally never thought about your children. We know you had multiple children, so many children. And like, no, none of those kids ever get named, not once. So like, I can't see anyone else being the she other than Ilyena. And I think it's kind of cool that Rand has 3 love interests, because it means that none of them can be the soul that is Ilyena, because that would be weird, because the 3 of them are non-hierarchical. Like, there is no clear way of saying which one's like better than the others. Like, Elaine looks more like her superficially, but like, I like the idea that Ilyena's soul is just off living its best life. Like, it's not the point that the 2 star-crossed lovers come back together. The point is just that reincarnation is a thing.
I do like the idea. I don't know. There's something to it, because like Elaine and Ilyena, Like, Elaine's basically part of that name. They both have golden hair, right? They're both queens. There seems to be a lot there to relate those two. I don't believe she is, and I think it's stated explicitly she's not Ileana Reborn. But part of me likes to think that maybe all three women, like, it took three women to embody the soul that was Ileana, right? That, like, part of her's in Elaine, part of her's in Avienda, and part of her is in Min.
She's just a person. I don't think she needs to be split up into three.
I agree. What? She's not the Trinity? Come on, let's go with the...
No. Why does she need to be fragmented for a man's romantic pleasure? No, just let her go live her own life and not be married to, like, one of the biggest douche canoes in all of history. So yeah, Rand has the beautiful moment of even within the tempest and the winds and the crashes of thunder, all is still, because each time we live, we get to love again. And then he moves to the corollary of that. I want to do it right this time. Not only do we have the opportunity to do it again, he is making the choice. This is the choice part, right? You were saying before, all fantasy revolves around choice or love, right? He first realizes that love is an option, and then he chooses it. And they're two very distinct parts of his thought process. The choice comes second, and that is so critical to his engagement with the Dark One at the end that I like that it's separate.
He has to know he can make a choice. He can't make the choice until he knows about the choice, and he has to realize there is a choice.
You can't make a choice you don't know about. You literally can't. It's like in the logic rules.
I mean, you can fail to make a choice is still kind of making a choice, but...
Sure, but you cannot be said to have made an informed choice.
No, decision, yeah. And yeah, the blatant, oh my god, Ileana will get reborn. I feel like everyone slapped their foreheads when he said that. Was like, yeah, everybody gets reborn, including Ileana.
Yeah, she's not actually specially denied the rebirth cycle.
Right. Don't know why you thought that.
Just because you killed her, she's not, like, cursed to never be reborn. Like, come on now.
Right.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like, yeah, just like, I mean, again,
like, have you not read
20.
your own Bible? I know. But there is some of that, just like, did you not follow the basic logic of the religion that you believe in? Right?
Yeah.
That, like, reincarnation is a thing?
It's like, what? Yeah. It's a little silly, but also it's like, wait, that was all that we needed to fix you this whole time? Was walk you through a simple logic problem? It does seem a little ridiculous.
Yeah. All you needed is to remember the basics of how reincarnation works in your belief system, of which you have more evidence than anybody else because you actually remember previous lives.
Yeah. First of all, there's not competing systems of schools of thought in your world. There's one belief system, and you have more empirical evidence than literally anybody else. Even Matt, with all of his memories, has a very explicit, weird, artificial Finn workaround that is not reincarnation.
Yeah, because he doesn't have memories of his past lives. I mean, some of his early ones might be before he goes through the gateway, right?
Oh, he's got a little Manetheren weirdness in there, and I think he's got some Finn memories that are also Manetheren memories, so there's some weird statistical overlap there. But yeah, he's not remembering his lineage. Whereas Rand is remembering not a physical lineage, but like a distinct soul lineage. It's not a grab bag like with the Finn.
And so with the decision that he wants to do right this time, he destroys the Choden Call.
The only way that he knows how, which is with itself, right? It's too powerful to be destroyed except by using it.
And, it's an interesting, is that it's sort of nuclear de-armament, self-fulfilled?
That's how I interpret it, yeah. Like, however we're going to settle this war, it's going to be with more conventional weapons. We're not going to irradiate the atmosphere through the course of this.
And then at the end of this chapter, you sort of have the moment where you have Zen Rand opening his eyes, right? We've had Darth Rand and then Forsaken Rand, and this is now the beginning of Zen Rand. And Rand opened his eyes for the first time in a very long while. He knew somehow he would never hear Lewis Theron's voice in his head, for they were not two men and never had been. And I think that right there is such an important line for what's going on in Rand's head.
And never had been.
And never had been. They were not two men, and they never had been. And so much around, like, everything about how we frame Rand's madness, about the fact that he's not communicating with Lewis Theron through time, and they're both going mad at the same time and hearing each other. The fact that he's not a dead Lewis Theron who's then reincarnated and remembers everything because he's a separate person who exists in Rand's head, who Rand has to integrate with, right? This idea that no. All you got was some memories of an old life, that you have always been Rand. You have always been you. The voice in your head was just the craziness, was just the insanity. And that clarity really helped recontextualize decades of books.
Yeah.
That line was so important to me when it came out.
Yeah. One place where Sanderson clarity is very appreciated. Yeah. And also remember, Perrin is watching all of this.
Yes.
This whole last little bit, there's a dream Perrin watching this go down in Tel Aran'rhiod.
Yeah, Perrin is experiencing this incredible storm, and like he's barely able to survive it, and like there's this whole metaphysical thing going on at the same time that we get to see this from another POV. Whereas to us from the outside, it looks like him just sitting on a hilltop.
There's no storm in the real world.
There's no storm.
But yeah, Perrin is standing there a few feet away in the dream world, just getting buffeted by hurricane force winds and barely holding on and like screaming at Rand to like hold on, and then he vanishes into this dark pit, and then this beam of light comes out and the storm vanishes, and then Rand like smiles beatifically and fades away, and like all of that, we're gonna need a whole other book before we get back to this moment and Perrin watching what this looks like metaphysically from the outside. And I love the Perrin watching this scene. Like it wasn't like I'd forgotten this scene, but you get through a whole book. It's not like it's top of mind.
Right.
And then to see this scene again with almost as much intensity and tension, even though you know what's going to happen.
I would say even more so. I would say it's better written from Perrin's POV than it is from Rand's. Because from Rand's, there's a lot of introspection and philosophy and stuff like that. From Perrin's POV, it's just about power and storm and danger and holy fuck, what is going on? Like, why is this affecting Tel Aran'rhiod to this mount? And you're like, well, the dragon's one with the land. And in a lot of ways, you know, Tel Aran'rhiod, still you can't convince me that Tel Aran'rhiod isn't the layer between us and the Dark One's prison, or is the Dark One's prison in a lot of ways.
Right. Also, Sanderson got to rewrite the scene, right? He got to write this really, really cool scene. And then with Perrin, he was able to like come back with a whole nother book of experience under his belt and like do it again, but better this time, which is pretty neat.
And I think with Rand, he was probably a little more pinned down. There were probably certain statements he had to do, certain ideas. Whereas Perrin was totally undone. He's like, I'm just going to tell this from a metaphysical point of view and see what happens and have fun with it.
And he'd already written it once. He'd like essentially rough drafted it. And then he got to write it with, way less constraints, way less need to be in Jordan's style of metaphysics and more just like action sequence.
Right. Would have loved a little more about like Rand's brain and him like feeling like something changed in his head. But
amazing, Athlon. Sanderson writing about people doing better a second time, but better the second time. Very, very meta. Yeah. Well, Sanderson likes his nested Russian dolls of plot stuff.
So the sun comes out because, again, the dragon is one with land and he's happy again. So the sun's out, and that's very Pacific Northwest.
The sun's out. Everyone go worship.
Yeah. And he looks up and laughs, and it's like Rand laughing again, right? And this whole the whole quest of Codswain to make him laugh again and feel joy in his heart is finally fulfilled.
He has to discover laughter and tears, and he's going to discover laughter here, and then I think tears when he goes to hug Tam, which is like in 48 hours, so close enough. Yeah, and then this sun radiates outward. The clouds open up in a perfect circle. It's very strange. It's very eerie. And those beams of light go shooting down to that tiny little speck off on the little ribbon, which is Tar Valon. And that's where we go for the epilogue.
Yes, epilogue. Bathed in light, because the light rays are hitting Tar Valon. And our symbol is the snake in the wheel, because it's momentous, I suppose.
I just noticed the chapter title is Bathed in Light, and the very first line of the sentence is, or very first sentence of the chapter is, Egwene worked by the light of 2 lamps. Like, we're going to end with this, like, bathed in, like, the glorious solar light, but we start out with her just, like, in a dark room with little lamps, just contentedly being in her cozy little room where she makes her own light, and it's fine.
Cool-ass lamps, though, by the way.
I mean, they are cool lamps. They are shaped like women holding their hands into the air, a burst of flame appearing in each set of palms. The calm yellow light reflected on the curves of their hands, arms, and faces. They sound very cool. I want those lamps stat.
Yeah, a lamp that looks like someone tossing power. I do have a lamp that looks like a dragon breathing fire, which is pretty cool. It's got its head back and like the wick comes out of as its tongue, and then it's an oil lamp.
Oh, that's cool. That's neat. That's good. That's very comparable to this in terms of, like, this fits the canon of the character that the lamp is shaped as.
And I noticed she has a proper desk with a proper chair to sit upon.
A proper
she's actually,
chair.
Yeah, she's not going to fold underneath her.
I noticed that.
Also, did we talk about how much, like, by spanking her in the tower, they were literally beating the Amerlin's seat?
Do think you made that joke once and I shut you down, so you never make it again. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's terrible, but I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm just mad about it.
They're beating the Amerlin's seat in more than one way.
So Egwene is thinking about all of the Elida stuff, how she's got all of her stuff under lock and key. She's going to look through it for patterns about other plots that will come back to bite her in future years. Who knows what years Elida's plots are going to come back to bite Egwene in the ass. If only. If only, Egwene.
Yeah, you know, and while she's dealing with those, she's going to deal with Ramonda and Lelaine for years because they're such a pain in the ass because neither of them are dark friends. And neither one of them, like, they both wanted to be her keeper and neither one got to be. So now they're both kind of working against her. They've kind of turned on her together.
Yeah. It'll take years to resolve that for sure.
Yep, years. It's the funny thing about death. Suddenly things just aren't your problem anymore.
So Sylviana is a good keeper.
We get some numbers on the Black Aja.
Yeah, the Black Aja stuff is... I don't remember it being this bleak. I guess I don't read these books enough.
It's bad.
But, like,
yeah.
It's so much worse than I remembered. Like, almost all the Black Aja in the tower got away. I thought it was
60.
like half. No. Almost all of them.
And she says the number goes up to 80 if you count the other ones who got away.
Rough. That's a lot of Dreadlords.
And I don't even know if they addressed the third of the Aes Sedai who were just neither in the tower. Because, like, remember that when the breakup happens, there's like a third independent, a third goes with the rebels, and a third stays in the tower.
I think most of the third of the independents are Cadswainified now.
Yeah, or have gone to one side or the other.
They're in Rand's orbit. Like, yeah, like there's very few that are not with one of the Aes Sedai camps or with Rand/Cadswain.
But I was just doing the math, and I was like, okay, so let's say we know we had about 1,000 Aes Sedai going into the start of the series. We know about a third of them were left in the tower. That brings us down to 333. We know 50 of them were sent off to the Black Tower by Elida. So that brings us down to the like high 200s. Then you've got 60 Black Sisters who sneak away.
Well, also 15 went to Rand.
Yeah, 15 went to Rand.
To that delegation, and like one of those made it back. Like the rest are all with Rand now or dead.
That's 200 tops left. And then the 40 that got captured by the Seanchan. So now you're talking at most 160 sisters left in the tower at most.
Jesus, that is so few channels, especially if you're talking about going up against 180 or going up against 80 Dreadlords. That means you have only a 2-to-1 advantage against the Dreadlords. Of
the sisters left in the tower.
Right, yeah, I mean, then you bring, the rebels back in and that changes. But still, that is, there's just not a lot of Aes Sedai on the table, man. Wow.
No, the White Tower is empty. I mean, that place is deserted right now.
Yeah, like, I mean, she talks about how there's kitchens that haven't been opened up in centuries, but like, it's echoing even for the level of power down that it is. It's echoingly empty. And then, yeah, Aslam, the Dreadlords aren't even end up really being the issue. The Sharans are a much bigger issue.
Right,
Well,
yeah, they really are.
That's a fucking wild card.
Yeah, we don't know that's coming in. But, I mean, Dreadlords aren't helpful, for sure. They do some bad stuff. They kill a lot of troops, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, they take up a lot of the planning power of the Aes Sedai, too.
And just think about how much that cripples them, though, right? Like, they've lost so many. Now, and some of those Aes Sedai are now coupled up with Ashaman and will still be fighting in the last battle.
Right. Again, not really in the plans for the Aes Sedai in the tower, but what we know of the light side's total resources, they still exist.
And some of the Seanchan Aes Sedai probably fight in the last battle.
Yeah, no, definitely some of the Suldam Damani pairs go into the last battle proper and do last battle things. And one assumes that the Damani are less reluctant to fight in that battle than any other battle because it's literally the last battle.
And they can actually take down Shadow Spawn and use power as a weapon against them and stuff like that. So.
Oh, you mean the Aes Sedai taken by the Seanchan are actually able to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, they would be like, no, this is actually... Our oaths allow us to do that. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I hope someone gets the memo to the Seanchan. I thought, well, I don't want to use the word hope.
I still would have loved it.
No.
Would have loved the scene where Egwene is fighting the Sharans and in comes the fucking Tuon with Elida as her Damane to save her life.
Woo! That would be spicy. That would be spicy.
And fucking Elida be like, help me, I'm a prisoner. And her be like, I can't right now. Sorry.
I literally can't right now. I'll get back to you later.
Go fight in the last battle in your own way.
Oh,
you'll at least be useful. Right? How hardcore would that have been?
I don't think we could all handle that much spicy. I think we would all implode trying to handle that much spicy.
But those three women, Tuon, Elida, and Egwene, all in the same place after like fucking Tuon comes in and saves Egwene's bacon from the Sharans.
And Egwene allows a woman to stay on leash because that's what the world needs right now, and also fuck Elida just a little bit.
Meanwhile, Matt's there trying to like moderate everybody.
No one is listening to him.
And
Nynaeve is like tugging on his hand, like, you gotta come away, dude. Like, come with me. Run away and hide.
There's so much good potential for stuff, man. Because like Tuon would totally use Elida because Elida is super powerful, right? Elida is one of the more powerful, stronger tower Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
A moment where Tuon's Aes Sedai can't.
Ugh. All right, so we return to considering Varen's thoroughness, and they'd captured only 3 more Black Sisters who hadn't been on her list. Only 3. What accuracy? Again, we're talking like a 1% failure rate against how many she did positively identify. Incredible.
Because there were, 2 that she didn't identify in the rebel camp?
Something like that, yeah.
And so like 3 more, and then, we're not absolutely sure that everybody who was out of the tower, like... It's still possible that a couple of people who are out of the tower who didn't have to reswear the oaths and didn't make it onto Varen's list could still be Dark Friends.
There are still a handful, yeah, that could be.
So, but probably aren't just because they weren't on Varen's list and like you'd think they would be around major events.
Yeah. But you never know. There could be one like got signed up to be a Dark Friend last week and then all this shit goes down and she's just kind of like hanging out, like only legally inducted, but not really like confident in her Dark Friendy skills. Just like, I guess, never mind then.
But they have that list. They're like, if you come into camp and this is a very short list of like 10 sisters who could potentially be, and so she's like, if you come into the camp, like I know these are all non-Dark Friends, so they're going to test you and we know who to look out for.
Right.
The only thing that they don't have is we know Masana's still in the camp, and she somehow circumvented the 3 oaths. Right,
which is something that I was very surprised when I came across reading this, right? The first time I was like, oh, so that method is beatable. Like, I thought that was going to catch Masana and resolve that somehow. She was going to be one of the sisters that had vanished or something. But no, we're actually leaving her as a lingering threat for next book. Oh, shit.
And kind of one of the big plot thread for Egwene, right?
Huge
is between
plot thread.
Assassins, the Blood Knives, thank you. And then you've got Masana. Ooh, long recording session. And you have those two threats, and she's confusing them.
Yeah, yeah. And we don't know exactly how Masana outsmarts the Oath Rod. We know that Seirin, I think, comes up with 3 different methods by which the Oath Rod could be beaten, and then says, by that logic, there are methods I haven't thought of. So it's safe to assume that Masana figured out one of these 3, or one of the infinity that we can presume exist if these 3 could be found.
And the word of Brandon basically says, at one point he was asked that, and he said she used one of the 3. And process of elimination basically says she hid her voice, said one thing, and everybody heard something else. And she's basically said, I will do whatever I want, and swore that on the oath.
That honestly makes the most sense to me. Like when those 3 pathways get laid out, that does seem like the least number of failable moving parts.
Yeah. Or, the other theory I like is she could swear not to be a dark friend. She doesn't worship Ishamael. She's not a dark friend. She could swear not to be of the Black Aja. She's a Forsaken. She's not part of that pathetic organization of the Black Aja. Right? Like she could swear that
valid.
oath. Totally true. And not, she could totally say that. And that's fine. They didn't ask, are you a Forsaken?
That's true. That's true. I still think she went with the voice changer one because it's the most solid, because then she's not magically bound to tell the truth, period. Which, why would she want that? So, yeah. Sylviana comes in at this point. After all this thinking about dark friends and oath rods and stuff, Sylviana comes in to be like, I think there's an event that you should see. We should do a walk with no talk and go look at this. And they do. They go to this construction site where Egwene is having the hole in the wall retrofitted into an actual intentional window. So there's stonemasons being like, why is the Amerlin here? This is so awkward. I'm just trying to have a lunch break. Like,
and that's the window that, like, the hole that looks at directly out at Dragon Mount, because before there was no view of Dragon
in
Mount.
The hall of the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever you're in the hall of the tower, you can look at Dragon Mount, which seems very appropriate given the White Tower's relative position to the whole dragon thing. Why Tarvalin is positioned there, literally, And
there's a lot of symbolism in terms of like turning your back on Dragon Mount and ignoring it and building a wall where you can't see it, and then having that open up, and all of a sudden the Dragon Mount is part of your daily existence, and the dragon, you have to deal with that and its existence, and the fact that this is the last battle, right? And you have Elida who's turned her back on the last battle and the dragon reborn. And
you're literally letting the light in.
Yeah.
Right. That's what Rand is doing in this moment. That's what the event is. Right. Is letting the light in. She's letting the light in general. And now the light that Rand is letting in can pass through into the tower and allow her to see something has happened. And, it sets her up well to allow him into the tower later. Right. It's like, well, something's different.
And it's the light that he's almost creating, right? Because he's one with the land. This is the light of his soul shining out more than anything else.
It's almost like he is the sun, because that's the only place that sunlight is coming through. Like him and the sun are one and the same from where Tarvalin is sitting.
I always think of it more of just like he parts the clouds and he's the land accepting the sun. Because I always think the sun is something external. Like the sun's the creator in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And he's, accepting the power, accepting the energy.
Yeah, but he's allowing it to pass through for the world, right? He's saying the world may have the sun. I will bring it into your reality. And Egwene recognizes that is not something that the Amerlin seat shouldn't put in the Chronicles. So she literally turns to her keeper of the Chronicles and says, put a little star on that day. We'll figure out what happened later. Something happened. We need to know the day.
Leave room to say, on this day, the Dragon Reborn had an epiphany and didn't destroy the world.
Exactly. We're going to have celebrations on this date at some point in the future.
It's really like the day we didn't die. Yay.
Right. Yeah. We very nearly were a catastrophe. Like the world almost blinked out, but it didn't.
And so, it's a beautiful light.
Yeah. And they stand there and look at it and are just like, wow. And I guess I could read that out. We've also got a prophecy at the end.
I feel like just read the prophecy, right?
Yeah, the ending of the book itself is like whatever, but the prophecy is very cool, and I think it's worth pointing out. This is a Seanchan prophecy. If you look at where it's from.
It's an Essenex cycle,
Yeah, from House of Shandar. This is a Seanchan prophecy, and I think it's interesting because this is Sanderson's first book, right? And it's also the first time we've gotten a Seanchan prophecy.
Well, I feel like we've gotten one more from a Seanchan mouth, but not like at the end of the book,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I meant. Like in this position in the book structure.
Yeah, and you can always tell because usually it's from the Corinthian cycle, and this is from the Aes Sedai cycle, which is the Seanchan, shall we say, the Ishamael version of the Koreathon cycle.
Yeah, yeah. This is the King James cycle. All right, so I guess with that, I'm ready to read us out of this entire ass book.
We finished the Sanderson book.
Wow, we finished the Sanderson book. Okay. At the end of time, when the many become one, the last storm shall gather its angry winds to destroy a land already dying. And at its center, the blind man shall stand upon his own grave. There he shall see again, and weep for what has been wrought. From The Prophecies of the Dragon, Isonic Cycle, Malavesh Official Translation, Imperial Record House of Shandar, Fourth Circle of Elevation.
All right, well, walk me through that prophecy.
So at the end of an age, right? They say at the end of time, but I assume that means more like the end of an age.
I mean, the last battle, right? I mean, and again, this also adds into my feeling that the end of time is this moment when Rand could end.
Oh, that too?
Not
Yeah,
the last battle, right? Like, this is the moment when time could end.
Yeah. And many become one might be like all the different dragons coming together.
I think that's him, going back and that integration that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. The last storm shall gather its angry winds to destroy a land already dying. Rand powering up the Chodan call from the top of Dragon Mount, prepared to, finish it. And at its center, a blind man shall stand upon his own grave, literally.
Rand on Dragon Mount, yeah.
And he shall see again and weep for what has been wrought. Right? See again in terms of that reintegration, understanding all of those cycles. And he doesn't actually weep for what has been wrought. He laughs instead. And I'm not sure if that's a tweak on the Ishamael side of things, or if that's
what I was going to assume.
Yeah, because if he destroys everything, then he will weep for what has been wrought in the moments before he destroys everything. But he laughed. What he actually did was laugh.
I would bet that word is the only thing that Ishamael changed.
Yeah, because the Ishamael didn't change much because people would not accept a radical, massive overhaul. It had to be subtle errors that would drift into bigger errors. And also, I mean, it could just be an innocent translation error because we know laughter and tears are paired as being very important for this. So maybe one word got, eaten off by a mouse or something.
But again, if you look at the Mistborn saga, and spoilers for the Mistborn saga, the whole plot of that series turns on the evil god going back to prophecies and changing words to make it fit whatever hero he wanted to do things, so he could motivate people. So the whole, the main character is driven by prophecies, but those prophecies are being rewritten by the bad guy.
Right. Yeah.
To get himself free, so it's this whole, you have to take the power. It's like this whole thing where it's like, and I always get it backwards, but he changes the prophecies to say the selfless thing to do is give up the power and what that actually means is giving it up to the bad guy. Whereas the original prophecies say use it to keep the bad guy imprisoned.
Subtle twist, profound difference.
Yeah, exactly. To know that he does that, and through individual word changes and stuff like that, I can very much see him writing a prophecy saying, hey, here's a little wink and a nod. This is from the corrupted prophecy. And guess what? He didn't weep. He laughed. And if you notice that, that's where the change is, because it's different from what really happened.
I'd never thought of that before, but I really like that. I think it ties up loose ends that I didn't even know were loose. So I like it.
It's the whole thing where Ishamael says, I sowed the seeds of destruction down by the seashore. I sowed the seeds of destruction by, seeding the Seanchan and their return, right? He set up their return as well and timed it through the prophecies.
And sealed two dooms, one of his empire and one yet to come. Yeah. He's a devious one.
I mean, yeah, and he existed, the whole coming out every 1,000 years for 40 years, kind of a cool little plot, right? That he's able to kind of, he's not there the whole time, but every time society gets going, he's there to knock it back down again and reset it and keep things from progressing. By starting the Trolloc Wars, by starting the Battle of Arthur Hawkwing, and then by, essentially what he's doing now, which is the last battle, right? The three big wars of the past 1,000, I mean, 4 if you want to count, the War of the Power.
Sure,
War of Power.
yeah.
Shamael's involved in that. And then you've got, the Trolloc War 1,000 years later. You've got Arthur Hawkwing 1,000 years later. You have the last battle. And Shamael's a key figure in all of those.
A lot of battle.
Well, thank you for joining me for this book. That was fun.
That was really fun. It was a wild experience doing our first Sanderson book.
Isn't Sanderson a completely different experience than Jordan?
So different. Wildly different. Yeah. Absolutely bonkers ride. I'm glad we were able to wrap this up before WotCon. As a reminder to our audience, we will be taking next week off of recording to prepare for WotCon. The subsequent week will be recovering from WotCon. And then the third week, we will come back for Tangents, where we will probably talk a lot about WotCon. I might put some rewinds up in the feed in the meantime, but we're not going to be here recording for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'd say WotCon and probably also like what it's like to podcast through Sanderson. I can't imagine that's not going to come up to like sort of do a retrospective on that whole book we just covered. Because we always kind of talk about the whole book, right? For sure. And so, yeah, that'll be the rest of July. In August, we will be starting on the next book. Wild. Right? But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us here in live. I really do appreciate all of you. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you at WotCon. Yeah, this is a wild journey to be on. Yeah, 2.5 books left, right? Like... Just 2 and a prologue. Really? Yeah, the prologue is my half. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. This is a bonkers day. I did not think we'd get here, and here we are. So thank you, everyone, for being along for the journey. Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. Wat Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.